Very good. Awesome. Church, you doing all right? Been a good day. Been a great day already. We got a special guest today. We got Dr. Lile, Dr. William Lile. He is the ProLife Doc. Just an incredible story of how God has used him. But he is an OBGYN. He's licensed in Alabama and in Florida. Went to school there at the University of Florida. He practiced or whatever, or learned with the residency there. He's done stuff at Florida State as well. Got a lot of education, but more than that, he is a doctor who has delivered over 5,000 babies, which is pretty incredible. In 1999, he overtook an abortion clinic there in Pensacola that did more abortions than anywhere else in the area, took it over, and day one ended all those abortions. And now he uses his platform to literally speak life and to raise the value, if you will, of the image of God, these children, these beautiful children that God has given us. So if y'all would give it up for Dr. Lile. Dr. Lile, come teach us.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
And good morning, everybody here at Journey Church. We've had an exciting time. We had a little bit of a medical emergency in the last service, but let me tell you, your church functioned just like the church should function. Sometimes when we get into a point, we had the medical emergency right there. Sometimes in our lives, we just don't know what else to do. We don't know who to turn to for help. But what can we do? Just what your church did during that second service. They were on their knees and they were in prayer. And that's an amazing thing for a church. Nobody went to the restroom. Nobody left early. They saw a brother in need and they bowed in prayer, and they were praying all over your congregation. So that is a church that is healthy. Another sign of a healthy church is a church with lots of pregnant women and lots of babies. That is, when you see nothing but gray hairs and bald heads, that's not the sign of a healthy, growing church. But your church functioned just like the church should function, that they saw a need and they just, went to God, and they just sought the God, and they just bowed in prayer. And sometimes in our own lives, we get to that point where I don't know what to do. I'm up against something that I've never faced before. I don't know where to turn. We can always turn to God. So to this morning, this is the practice that we took over in 1999. Largest abortion provider down there in the whole Florida Panhandle. We bought the practice. They actually performed tens of thousands of abortions right there up on the second floor. We took over the practice, had him sign a 2-year non-compete where he couldn't practice any medicine. And on day one, we stopped all the abortions. And that was the beginning of this ministry. My wife and I, as of the end of this month in June, will be going into full-time ministry. And we'll be taking a sabbatical from our practice and doing this full-time and taking this message and this teaching. Journey Church is an amazing church. We've learned more about it today and last night. Last night we had dinner with John and Suzanne. And we learned all about the amazing. There's something going on here every night here during the week, and you have an amazing, growing, faithful church. But we're going to add one more thing tonight. School of Medicine. School of Medicine, we talked about it today. We didn't know there was going to be a drill on medical emergencies, But fortunately, we had 200 medical students that were here to get things going. But I'm going to take you to med school today. That is my role. My role is to provide you with new tools that you can use with your family, with your friends, and with your coworkers on not just that you are pro-life, but why you are pro-life. And we want to teach apologetics, which doesn't mean, oh, I'm sorry. No, we want to be able to defend what we know is right. So we're going to go to medical school to start off today. And the first thing that everybody learns in medical school is a little bit of Latin. And that Latin is a Latin phrase. And that phrase is primum non nocere. Say it with me. Primum non nocere. Well, what did you just say in Latin? You just said, first, do no harm. This is the role of all physicians. We have access to needles and scalpels and chemotherapy, radiation, laparoscopes, and robots. They are meant to heal, not to harm. So first, do no harm. The second thing we're all taught in medical school, and what we're going to teach you today, is that patients have rights. Patients are individuals and they have rights. All patients have rights. In fact, you think, well, we're Alabama, we're nice and conservative. But even states like liberal New York has 22 different rights that they give to all patients. If you are a patient, you have these 22 rights. But remember, our rights don't come from the state. Our rights come from God. It's the duty of good government in the states and in the federal government to protect those rights which come from God. These are some of those rights that if you are a patient in New York, you will not be discriminated based on your age, race, color, religion, or sex. These are rights that are protected in all 50 states plus the federal government. We were at the University of Florida College of Medicine, my alma mater, and we were doing a lecture on patients' rights. And one of the examples I gave for the students was that if I have a patient that's in the ER, and if this patient doesn't get a blood transfusion, this patient will die. And without that, we have a dead patient. But the patient wasn't born in the United States. Do I still have a moral and legal obligation to provide a life-saving blood transfusion for the patient in the ER that wasn't born in the United States? One of the guys in the back raised, he goes, Dr. Lile, he goes, we've been taught here at the University of Florida College of Medicine that a patient is a person that's entitled to respect and bodily integrity. And not only do you have a duty, but you have a legal and moral obligation to provide that patient with a life-saving blood transfusion. I said, I agree with you. They taught me the same thing. I'm proud of you. You learned that lesson. And so just so everybody understands, the patient that was in the ER that would have died without a blood transfusion received that blood transfusion, and the life was saved even though they weren't born in the United States yet. And that's the key. This patient received a life-saving blood transfusion while they were still in the womb of their mother. So we're going to take you into the OR. We're going to take you to labor and delivery, and we're going to show you how, yes, all patients have rights, but we are treating the babies in the womb as patients, and we're just going to be scratching the surface. We have 8 hours of video on our training curriculum, because this is going to give you some of the highlights, but we're doing new things every month, which will just knock your socks off by treating the preborn and healing the preborn as patients. Did you ever think you'd be at a Southern Baptist church and the speaker would be talking about pubs? No, it's like, we don't do pubs here. Well, this isn't that kind of pub. This is a peri-umbilical blood sampling and transfusion, because we're saving the lives of babies routinely by giving them blood transfusions. Anybody ever give blood? You guys ever go to a blood drive? If you have O-negative blood in Pensacola and you donated your blood, we can use your blood. We can put it in a syringe, guide the tip of the needle with an ultrasound, save the life of a baby in the womb. And that is treating your neighbor as yourself. That's a commandment. Treat your neighbor as yourself. Well, how do we do a blood transfusion? And why would we do a blood transfusion? Because from the moment of conception, that baby is genetically unique from the mom, genetically unique from the dad, genetically unique from the other 8 billion people on the planet. In fact, that baby can even have a different gender than that of the mother. Half the time. I mean, and there are only 2 genders. Can we just get this straight? First day of medical school, can we just get that straight, that there are only 2 genders at that moment of conception? And dads, you're in charge of this. Moms, you know, you might release an egg, and you guys are so precise as women. You go, boop, and out goes that one egg. Guys, you got like 300 million Michael Phelps wannabes that all want to get and be the gold medalist. Half of them are X, half of them are Y. If an X gets in there first, guess what? It's a little girl, it's XX. If a Y gets there first, it is XY. There are only those options. So let's just get that God created man and woman. But when it comes to blood transfusions, moms and babies, even though they have an intimate relationship and they really help each other, moms and babies can have a different blood type. In fact, there are conditions where moms will have antibodies which can cross the placenta and start to attack the baby's blood. The baby's blood count starts to drop. Well, just like if somebody had a bad laceration, their blood count is dropping, we stop the bleeding, but then we also can give them blood to save their lives. How do you give a baby a blood? I mean, do you just slap on the baby's wrist and start an IV? No, they're on the inside. We have done blood transfusions to babies in the womb at Sacred Heart as early as 18 weeks gestation. How do you do that? We guide with ultrasound a needle through the skin of the mom, through the wall of the uterus. We go right up to the umbilical cord, and we go right into the umbilical vein, and we give that baby a life-saving blood transfusion. Sometimes we have to do this every 3 or 4 weeks, because even though the mom doesn't want to hurt her baby, her antibodies are still crossing the placenta and attacking the baby's blood. So sometimes every 3 or 4 weeks, we're doing this again and again and again. So if we can give a life-saving blood transfusion to a baby in the womb, is this a patient? Yeah. And a patient has rights, and a patient is a person, no matter how small. Anybody have twins in this service? We had the perfect set of twins that were identical twins. So we're going to talk a little about twins. Now you're in medical school. I want you to use your powers of deductive reasoning. You see this twin and you see this twin. What's the difference between the two? Size, you're brilliant. This one's big, this one's small. These are two identical twins which came from one egg and one sperm, and before day 13, they divided into two identical copies. But these are about 20% of the time, they're gonna be sharing one placenta. Any of you have more than one child? Do your children share everything perfectly? Never fight over toys, Halloween candy, things like that, Christmas presents. No, they all try to get what they want. Sometimes babies in the womb, before they're even born, can be selfish. This one says, I want more. You know, it's like, I want more protein. I want more carbohydrates. And why are we going to call him? You're going to name him Arnold. Meanwhile, this one over here, the little scrawny one, we're going to call him Danny. Now you know. All right? So Arnold was getting all the nutrition. Danny's getting the leftovers. Well, if Danny's just getting the leftovers, Danny might die. And if Danny dies, since they're sharing one placenta, Arnold will die as well. So when we diagnose with our patients, we send to Texas Children's Hospital in Houston. What do? They will actually go in through the belly of the mom. They'll put a laparoscope, a fetoscope with a laser on it. And then just like a Luke Skywalker with his lightsaber, they will take that laser and they will just go bzzz, and they'll divide the placenta in two. They'll say, Arnold, this is your half of the placenta. Danny, this is your half of the placenta. Now knock it off and play nice. Kind of like when I was a kid, we had a station wagon and that hump was kind of right down the middle. It's like you have your side and you have your side. We send them down. This one might be at the 99th percentile. This one at the 3rd percentile. By the time they send them back to us 10 days later and we start to follow them, by the time we deliver them, this baby might be at the 70th percentile. This baby may be at the 30th or 40th percentile. If we can teach identical twins sharing one placenta how to share as patients and save the lives of both, are they patients? Yeah. And a patient is a person, no matter how small. Who remembers this picture? 1999. Anybody ever remember seeing this picture? Real famous picture. Vanderbilt University was doing a trial, and they're still doing this procedure on babies diagnosed with spina bifida. What's spina bifida? Spina bifida is a defect there in the womb where the baby actually has a hole in their spine, and it affects the nerves. And a lot of times these kids can't go upstairs, they can't go downstairs, they might be paralyzed. They might not have good control of their bladders, they might not have good control of their bowels. The doctors at Vanderbilt University had this trial called the MOMS trial, where they would actually give mom anesthesia. They would make an incision in mom's belly. They'd bring the uterus or their womb outside. They'd make a small incision in the uterus, and then they would kind of move the baby around on the inside, and they'd actually do surgical repair of this defect in the baby's spine. Well, this baby on this day just happened to pop his hand out. And a friend of mine named Michael Clancy took this famous picture of the baby reaching out and grabbing onto the finger of the surgeon right there. Absolutely amazing. But what happens is the baby now did well, and his name is Samuel Armas. I was speaking at Georgia Right to Life, and this little kid comes strutting on up. He goes, Dr. Lile. He said, you use my picture all the time. And I looked at his name tag, and that's Samuel. That's the little baby that was there on the inside. We all saw his picture, but nobody really knows what happened to Samuel afterwards. He was a patient in his mother's womb who had spina bifida corrective surgery. Now we know, after doing this for over 25 years, when we take the initiative and we treat these babies as patients on the inside rather than waiting until after they deliver, these babies, they can go upstairs faster, downstairs faster. They have better control of their bladders, better control of their bowels. We have improved the quality of life of these kids for the rest of their lives by treating them as patients when they're inside of their mother's womb. Well, did you got any updates on Samuel? Yeah, there's Samuel at Auburn. Samuel's doing great. Samuel's got a girlfriend. He's there at a football game. In fact, there he is getting ready to go to his prom. But I want you to see, personalities don't really change. If you've got a little wild child on the inside, you're probably going to have a wild child on the outside. If your baby loves to be up between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. on the inside, guess what? You're not going to change that. That's still going to be a wild child on the inside. Kids that are more chill, if they're chill on the inside, they'll usually be more chill on the outside. See Samuel here? He's kind of grabby. He likes to reach out with his left hand and grab surgeon's fingers. Guess what? Does the same thing with his girlfriend right there. You know, he's got his left hand, the same hand that is right there while he's in his mother's womb at about 26 weeks gestation. That same hand is now hugging his girlfriend over on that side. He was a patient on the inside. He's a patient as an adult on the outside. Patient here, patient there. At all stages, he was a patient, and he had rights given to him by God, which should be protected by the state and the federal government. That was generation one. Who has the original iPhone still? Nobody does. Everybody upgrades when they get the opportunity. This was Gen 1. We made an incision in the skin and an incision in the womb. Gen 2 is we're using a laparoscope. We actually call it a fetoscope, where we're actually putting a camera and a scope inside, through the skin of the mom, through the wall of the uterus, and we're taking instruments and we're doing that same spina bifida surgery without the big incision. Technology can be absolutely amazing, but there's also a generation 3. Generation 3 is being performed at UC Davis. They now have been given over $40 million on grants, and this is called the CURE trial. C-U-R-E, CURE. Why did they call it the CURE trial? They actually think they have a cure for spina bifida. 3,000 babies are born each year, and a lot of these kids will never walk, never have control of their bladders, never have control of their bowels. But this trial is using stem cells. And I'm cool with stem cells. It's all a matter of where did you get your stem cells from. The stem cells they originally started to use were harvested from aborted babies. What do you think God thought about that idea? It didn't work. They don't know why it didn't work, but it didn't work. Then they started to harvest stem cells from placentas after a mom had already given birth. They're called totipotential cells, mesenchymal stem cells, cells that have the potential to become anything. A stem cell is amazing. I mean, we call them totipotential. They've got total potential to become any kind of cell. They just need guidance and direction, like a little kid. Little kid, they're going to be a professional ball player, cop, preacher, pastor, doctor, lawyer, who knows? They just need guidance and direction. When these stem cells are applied right to the defect, and they'll go inside of the womb, and they'll actually apply these stem cells right to the defect in the baby's spine, the stem cells wake up and they go, oh my gosh, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I'm going to become normal spinal cord tissue. On ultrasound, kids that were just having floppy legs, they start purposefully moving their legs. Kids that were not flexing and extending their foot, they're flexing and extending their feet. They actually think they have a cure for spina bifida in the womb. They now have $40 million to continue this grant. So if we can now possibly cure spina bifida in the womb and change the quality of life for these kids for the rest of their lives, are they a patient? Yes. And a patient has rights, and a patient is a person, no matter how small. This is the mom, Emily. That's Dr. Farmer, and that's baby Robbie, who had this stem cell therapy while he was still growing and developing on the inside. It's like, oh, it can't get cooler than that. It gets cooler than that, y'all. Anybody here have open heart surgery or catheterization ever? Well, there are unhealthy people in Florida that have. All right, so y'all are healthy. It must be the diet. We're now doing open heart surgery for babies on the inside of the womb, and then letting them heal and develop for another 10 weeks. This is a baby that was this was the Cleveland Clinic that dealt with this. You're in med school. We're going to talk about anatomy. We're going to talk about diagnostic tools. This is an ultrasound. This is the baby's chest. So right about here is this image on the baby's chest. So here's the chest wall. Here's a lung. Here's another lung. This is the baby's heart, atria and ventricles. Anatomically, what's this right here? This big goomba, what's that? It shouldn't be there. That's the cardiac teratoma. This is a tumor, or like Arnold would say, how did Arnold say tumor? He goes, it's a tumor. It's a tumor right here. The baby's heart is about the size of the end of my thumb. This tumor, it's about the size of my thumbnail. This tumor was growing so quickly, and when they diagnosed this at 26 weeks, they said, this continues to grow like this baby is going to be dead in 1 to 2 weeks. 2 options. Option number 1, they said, we can deliver your baby at 27 weeks and then do open heart surgery. But now we have a tiny 1.5 pound preemie that just had open heart surgery. Option number 2, they said, we think we have the technology where we can give your baby anesthesia and we can do open heart surgery while the baby's still on the inside, leave the baby on the inside, and let the baby continue to heal and grow and develop. And that's what the parents chose. So about 4 years ago, this is the actual team that took the mom to the OR and took the baby to the OR. In fact, if you look at the sign above the OR, it actually says fetal OR. In fact, it's maternal fetal medicine, but the emphasis was on the baby. This is the place for the babies, the small ones, to have surgery. You had 36 doctors, nurses, and teams there taking care of this mom and this baby. When I do a hysterectomy, does mom get an anesthesiologist? Sure. Does the uterus get an anesthesiologist? No. Why? Because the uterus is part of the mom. If the mom's comfortable, then we don't have to worry about the uterus. They have 2 patients here. How many anesthesiologists did they have? They had 2 anesthesiologists, one for the mom and one for the baby. I'm going to walk you through this surgery that they did. So the baby has this cardiac teratoma, this tumor, which is going to kill the baby. Here's the baby on the inside. There's the heart. And don't forget, the heart's beating 140 times a minute right there on the inside, but what looks like a little golf ball there, and we're going to zoom in. Right here, this is the tumor. This is growing so quickly that it's going to affect the heart. Mom is an epidural. She's comfortable, but she is wide awake. The OB makes an incision right in the mom's belly, makes a second incision through the uterus. They open up the uterus, they bring out the right hand, they bring out the left hand. Then the pediatric anesthesiologist starts an IV right there in the baby's hand. Baby's getting pain medicine, fentanyl, and baby's getting a paralytic called Norcuron. Cardiothoracic surgeon makes an incision in the baby's chest. The heart is beating. They remove the tumor. Almost immediately, the heart says, "Thank you very much," and the heart starts beating normally at a normal function and a normal rate. They close the baby's chest. They remove the IV, tuck the hands in, close the uterus, close the skin. This is at 27 weeks gestation. The baby grew and developed on the inside, was not delivered until 37 weeks gestation. The baby healed on the inside for 10 weeks. If we can do open heart surgery and have the baby get its own anesthesiologist and anesthesia medication, then let the baby heal and recover on the inside, is that baby a patient? Yes. All patients have rights, and a patient is a person, no matter how small. We talked about the IV. That is an actual picture during that surgery almost 4 years ago. That is that baby's hand with a perfectly formed thumbnail and fingernails, and that's the IV where the baby was getting life-saving medication plus fluid. That is a patient by any definition of what a patient is. That's baby Rylan. Baby Rylan is going to be 4 years old next month, and baby Rylan is a patient there, but baby Rylan was a patient in his mother's womb. All patients have rights. And I want you to look at this. That's a picture of baby Rylan's chest. And if you know somebody who's had open heart surgery, they got a big old scar. Why do you think Rylan hardly has any scar? He was still growing and developing inside of his mother's womb, and there's hardly any scar. He had open heart surgery. Well, how's Rylan doing now? Do you know what's going on with him? I'll tell you, this is him a couple years later. He's got a little matching Carhartt shirt with his dad there. And this is the most recent picture I have of Rylan, little Superman saying, man, he's ready to take on the world. He had open heart surgery with his own pediatric anesthesiologist. Clearly, he was a patient then, and he is a patient now, and he has rights and he has value. And some people say, well, you're doing open heart surgery, blood transfusion, spina bifida corrective surgery, but it's not like you're doing brain surgery. No, we're doing brain surgery on these babies on the inside. People say, well, I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm not a brain surgeon, but we're doing brain surgery on these babies on the inside. And this is the condition. It's called a Galen malformation. It's like, well, what's a Galen malformation? It's when you have an abnormal connection between a high-pressure artery right here and a low-pressure vein. It's kind of like if you take your air compressor and you want to blow up your kid's little noodle that they're going to use in the pool. It's not going to be able to take the pressure. Same thing. So this vein here, which wasn't designed for high pressure, is expanding, and it's a big aneurysm, and it's getting ready to blow. When we diagnosed a vein of Galen malformation, right after delivery, half these kids get really sick. And of the kids that get sick, half of them die. So 25% of the time, when we diagnose a Galen malformation, sadly, right after delivery, that baby's going to die. Well, nobody wants a fourth of their babies dying. So doctors up at Boston Children's Hospital say, hey, you know what? I don't like my patients dying. They said they seem to die right after delivery when there's a big shift of blood flow. They said, well, why don't we just fix it while the kid's on the inside? They go, think we can do it? So they thought about it, and they said, yeah, we think they can do that. And I'm going to show you how they did that. So the baby is on the inside. Baby's already been given some pain medicine and anesthesia. And they took this trocar, and with an ultrasound, they guided this big needle through the skin of the mom, through the wall of the uterus, right to the back of the numbed head of the baby, and they went right into the baby's brain. We're going to get rid of the brain tissue. I want you to see the blood vessels. They put that needle and put it right here, that abnormal connection between a high-pressure artery and the low-pressure vein. And they want to build a wall right there between the two. So they've had a vascular coil. They're trying to brick by brick build this wall on the inside. They added a second vascular coil, a third vascular coil, a fourth vascular coil. Guess what? They had built a wall between the high pressure artery and the low pressure vein, and they had blocked that and had cured that. Afterwards, they delivered that baby that just had vascular brain surgery while on the inside of its mother's womb. And that's baby Denver. If we can do vascular brain surgery and save the life of a baby in the womb, are they a patient? Yes, a patient is a person no matter how small, and they have value while they are there on the inside. 11 months later, what happened? There's baby Denver 11 months later. Baby Denver is doing great. She had a 25% chance of dying, but with technology and people are committed to curing and treating babies in the womb, baby Denver is going to do great. Well, who's this guy? You recognize him? If he just says, I think I've seen that guy. That's Sanjay Gupta. Sanjay Gupta works for the Christian News Network. You might know it as CNN. Is that what? Catholic News Network? What's the CNN? It's the cable. I don't even know why they call it Cable News Network. Who has cable anymore? I got a satellite. But this is Sanjay Gupta. What you might not know is, yeah, he's a doc. He's a gifted neurosurgeon. And he heard the news. He read, he said, are you telling me that they did a Galen malformation repair while the baby was still on the inside? He goes, get me a film crew. They went from New York right up to Boston, and he interviewed the doctor. I won't show you the whole interview, but I want you to see a short little segment and listen to the words of Sanjay Gupta. Since I took over that practice in 1999, I've been saying, when I have a pregnant patient, I have 2 patients. If she has twins, I have 3 patients. And I've delivered triplets and quads, and when they have quads, I have 5 patients that are visiting me every week. Listen to what Dr. Sanjay Gupta says.
Now keep in mind, in utero surgery also means they had to take 2 patients to the operating room instead of...
How many?
Now keep in mind, in utero surgery also means they had to take 2 patients to the operating room instead of 1.
Patients have rights. Even Dr. Sanjay Gupta realizes that when you have a pregnant woman and the baby's getting surgery, it's not 1 going to the OR. It is 2 patients instead of 1. They both are patients. They both have value. They both have rights. You're in med school, so you're going to be dealing with patients, y'all. What is the definition of a patient? A patient is a person receiving medical treatment. Person. Why is that word important? I mean, that's the definition of a patient, as a person receiving medical treatment. I just showed you 6 different ways that we're treating these babies as patients on the inside. We're not only are we treating them, but we're curing them, and they even get their own anesthesiologist. But if they are a person, they have special protection. The 14th Amendment says, nor shall any state deny any person of life, liberty, or property. If they are a patient, which I have proven, then they are a person. If they are a person, they deserve protection. We can win this battle, not just in Alabama, but medically in the United States of America and the entire country, because these are patients with value. Yet despite the amazing advances where we can actually do open heart surgery, brain surgery, spina bifida corrective surgery, we're even correcting heart arrhythmias on babies on the inside. Medicine and science has also given us some evil, and that biggest evil is the abortion pill. The abortion pill is now responsible for more than half of the abortions here in the United States. The abortion pill will kill a baby in the womb up to 10 weeks gestation. At 10 weeks gestation, there are over 1 billion cells. That moment of conception, you go from 1 unique cell to 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and all of a sudden one cell says, I don't want to be just like you. Why should we be identical? You've got your pages of DNA. I've got my pages of DNA. I'm only going to read chapter 3. And I say, I'm going to start the entire cardiovascular system. Meanwhile, you, young man, you were just like me. I mean, we just divided. We came cells. And you say, well, I want to do my own thing too. So you say, I'm only going to read chapter 7. I'm going to start the entire neurologic system. And then somebody else might say, well, I'm going to start the entire skeletal systems. These were identical cells that had the exact same blueprints in DNA. It's kind of like if you're a contractor. One says, well, I'm going to do all the electrical and wiring. I'm going to do the structure. I'm going to do all the plumbing. How do these cells know what they're supposed to do tomorrow? I mean, I can tell you what a cluster of cells is going to do on day 17, and I can tell you what they're supposed to do on day 18. How do they know what they're supposed to? I don't know what I'm supposed to do tomorrow. How do these cells know what they're supposed to do tomorrow? It's because they were designed by Almighty God, created in the image of God. That's how they know. We now have a pill, and even in the state of Alabama, if your daughter is pregnant and your daughter has a cell phone, she can order the abortion pill. It will get shipped to her. She might get it from India. She might get it from China. She might get it from another organization here in the United States, but we have no way of tracking the abortion pills, which are even coming into the state of Alabama. And the moms are having complications and they are dying. There was an article that was just published 2 weeks ago, written by a friend of mine, Ryan Anderson. When they were approving the abortion pill, they had 10 small studies. And they said the chance of a severe adverse reaction is 0.5%. Dr. Anderson's study with the Ethics and Public Policy Center says it's not 0.5%, it's 11%. 11%, which will either have a severe or a life-threatening diagnosis. So we have moms who are dying. It's like, well, what's the difference between 0.5 and 11? It's 22 times higher. It's like, I like Snickers. If I'm in the airport and I see Snickers for $1, I'm going to get a Snickers and I'm going to swipe that on the little bar reader. And if it comes up and it says that my Snickers is $1.22, I'm still probably going to get a Snickers. I'll drop $1.22 on a Snickers. But what if it comes back and it's $22? Am I going to buy a Snickers bar that is actually $22? No, I'm not going to buy a Snickers bar for $22. The same thing, 22 times, not 22% higher. Not only is this killing babies 98% of the time, at a total of over 700,000 babies each year with a pill which can be ordered mail order, it's also harming moms. Hundreds and thousands of moms are being injured. So how's the abortion pill work? Well, it will kill a baby 98% of the time, and at least 63% of all the abortions are now performed with a pill. The number is now over 700,000. The population of Washington, D.C. is also 700,000. So we, with a pill that's available mail order, are now killing babies up to 10 weeks gestation 98% of the time, and we're killing over the population of Washington, D.C. Every man, woman, and child, year after year after year. Well, how does it work? Well, the abortion pill works by blocking a hormone called progesterone. Well, the progesterone levels were going up, and the abortion pill makes them go down. Anybody ever had a regret? Dads, husbands, you ever said something to your wife and you have regrets? Yeah, I do it. Wives, has your husband ever said something so stupid that you better regret that? Yeah. We all do things and say things that we regret. Do moms who are facing the biggest challenge of their lives sometimes have regrets after they've taken the abortion pill? Yeah. And we're there to help them. We actually have a ministry called abortionpillreversal.com, where we have nurses who man our hotline 24 hours a day up in Columbus, Ohio, to provide help and assistance and training. So when a woman has regrets and is looking for help, we give them progesterone. Progesterone levels were going up. The abortion pill made them go down. We just bring them back up again. The same progesterone's in every single pharmacy. We use it in normal obstetrics all the time. Somebody has twins or triplets. We often will give them this exact same medicine to prevent them from going into preterm labor. Somebody had a pregnancy, had a miscarriage, pregnancy and a miscarriage. They probably don't have enough progesterone. They have a condition called a luteal phase defect. We give those women progesterone. We are actually about 65% of the time able to reverse the effect of the abortion pill simply by giving them progesterone. Are we successful? You tell me. This is a little baby. Baby mom took the abortion pill, sought help. We gave her help. $109 is what it cost my wife and I. Is this little baby worth $109? You better believe it. We just gave her progesterone. You know what her name is? What's the name of your church? Journey. Her name is Journey. Mom decided that she had had a heck of a journey already in life. And so this is baby Journey. $109 to buy back the life of the baby. Baby was on a path 98% of the time that baby was going to die. Mom had a change of heart, change in mind. She looked for help. My wife and I gave her that help. For $109, we bought back the life of that baby. That's what it means to be redeemed. We sing, oh, redeemed, how I love to proclaim it. We sing all these songs, but sometimes we don't remember what redeemed means. It means to buy back. 100% of us were all on this path where we were going to be eternally separated from God. Because we're all sinners, we're going to hell. Yet we were redeemed, not with $109 worth of progesterone, something much more precious. We were redeemed with the blood of Jesus Christ. It's probably the best example of what it means to be redeemed, and everybody is available for redemption. What happened to that little girl? That's that same little girl, Journey, when she started kindergarten in Mobile, Alabama. This is her in second grade, same Journey. All of a sudden, attitude kind of kicked in third grade, but this is Journey. Journey is doing great. She's had a heck of a journey, but she was redeemed with $109, and I pray that she gets to know Jesus. This is another successful reversal we had. Parents were so thrilled, they named the baby after me, William. William means the bold protector. But they actually got married during the pregnancy. But that's baby William, and that's baby William 2 years later. Beautiful little boy. But why'd they come into the office? I'm not a pediatrician. I don't take care of little kids. They came into the office because here's Dad, here's Mom, here's William. Guess what's there? Another little baby, and I got to deliver that little girl. Whole family was redeemed and bought back. Made a mistake. We've all made mistakes. Yet we were there to help her with correcting that mistake. So here's the choice. You could have come to the first service and gotten up real early and gotten here. You're like, nah, that's my style. You could have come to the second service. Y'all like, no, I like my morning sleep in. You made a choice. So when it comes to abortion, is this a choice? Or is this the greatest spiritual battle this nation has faced in over a century? This is a spiritual battle. Genesis 1:26 says, and God said, let us make man in our image. I mean, this is after God had already made billions of stars in our galaxy, billions of galaxies, put a little bit of special attention on earth and says, yeah, let's do some mountains, let's do some rivers, let's do some streams, let's do the river that goes through, and they'll be putting lights up on that river down here by the dam. But then God said, let us make man in our image. There is something special about me and about you because you were created in the image of God. When were you created in the image of God? Not on your birthday. I'm born June 20th. I'm getting ready to turn 60 at the end of the month. I wasn't created in the image of God on my birthday. As an obstetrician, I can determine what your birthday is going to be. I can say we're going to induce you or we're going to do your repeat C-section this day or this day. I don't have that kind of power and authority to create you in the image of God. The only thing that makes sense is when you were genetically unique from the other 8 billion people on the planet, and that was at that moment of conception. When it comes to the image of God, this is an image. What does this image represent? The United States of America. I mean, I know you guys have a lot of former military members here. I live in Pensacola. I delivered 5 of the Blue Angels babies. I still haven't gotten a ride. I would think that I would get, as a Blue Angel delivery ace, I should get a ride. In Pensacola and here, when you see somebody burn the American flag and desecrate the American flag, give you that little bit of an anger on the inside. Well, why would somebody want to burn the stars and stripes? If you hate the United States, you're not going to be able to destroy the United States, but you can attack the image which represents the United States, and that is the flag. God himself said in Genesis 1:26, let's make man in our image. If you are a group that has a hatred for God, you might not be able to destroy God, but you can destroy that image of God. That's why this is a spiritual battle. You have Planned Parenthood, NARAL, and all these other groups that hate God. And how do they express themselves? They want to destroy the image, which is God, and that is on the inside of the womb. That is the core foundation of abortion. Judges 3:7. And you look through, if you're bored this afternoon, read through Judges 3, 4, 5, and 6. Over and over again, the children of Israel did the same, error. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. Did God love the children of Israel? Yeah, they were his chosen people. But they were doing evil. What were they doing? Number one, they were worshiping other gods and demonic forces. And number two, they were offering their own children as sacrifices to Molech. We have now taken the lives of 64 million babies since 1973. The number of abortions every year is now 1.1 million babies in the womb. The reason the number is going up is because of the availability of the abortion pill. Does God love the children of Israel? Yes. Does God have a love for the United States of America? Yes. But we are not just fighting for that individual baby on the ultrasound. We're not just helping out this couple. We are really working to defend and protect the nation that my grandkids, my great-grandkids will grow up in, because we are doing evil in the sight of the Lord. When the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, what happened to them? He delivered them into the hands of their enemies. He strengthened their enemies. I want my children to grow up with all the freedom and blessings that I grew up with here in the United States. So this is a battle for our children and grandchildren. Romans 5:8. But God showed his love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. I mean, I'm a sinner, no doubt about it. Anybody else here at Journey Church? If you're a sinner, raise your hand. All right, we got a few. My wife and your pastor raised their hands too. We're all sinners. When was your first sin? Did you write that one down? Did you put it on Facebook that I just sinned? This is my first sin ever? Look at what it says in Psalm 51. Surely I was sinful at birth. I was sinful from the time my mother conceived me. That moment of conception, when you were created in the image of God, that's when we were sinners. Yet God loved us all so much that he sent his son. He lived a perfect life. He then gave his life for us on the cross. And he was dead and buried, 100% dead. Yet miraculously, 3 days later, he conquered the grave, rose again. If we put our trust in him, we can be saved from all of our sins. So if God loved all of us from the moment of our conception and sent his son to do all that for us, that's the message of the gospel. Should we do everything within our power to defend the lives of God's preborn in the womb? Yes. If God loved them that much, we need to love them that much as well. It's a spiritual battle. Is this a spiritual battle that we're going to get together because the people outside the church are a bunch of sinners? No. This is something that affects the people within the church as well. This is a recent study that was done by Lifeway and CareNet a few years ago. People who attend church at least once a month, they surveyed them all across the country, and they found between 18 and 24% of these people, men and women, because guess what? Every pregnancy involves a guy, except there was this one 2,000 years ago. No guy involved in that one. That hasn't happened since then. 18 to 24%. When we go around the churches across the country and even across the world, we know that statistically, 20% of the men and the women in any congregation, this will be part of their past. These people are hurting. These people need healing. Healing comes from forgiveness, and true forgiveness only comes through the blood of Christ. Is abortion a sin? Yes, but guess what? We've all fallen short of the glory of God. I've fallen short of the glory of God. So is your pastor. So is my wife, even though otherwise my wife is perfect. But we have all fallen short. So I know that 20% of the people probably in this congregation have personally been involved in an abortion, both men and women. The role of the church, second service, your church functioned just like the church should have. You had a medical emergency right there in that center aisle. You functioned like Christ designed the church to function. Didn't know what else to do, but everybody was on their knees and they were in prayer for this man. When the church functions like Christ designed the body of Christ to function, that's when we have success and that's when we win. Our goal today was to give you some new tools. Tools that you can leave here with and talk with your family, talk with your friends, talk with your coworkers, not just on that you are pro-life, but why you're pro-life. These are my patients, created in the image of God, and we can surgically treat them. You've seen medicine, you've seen science, but what's the most important tool that we want you to walk away with? What's the number one tool to win? It's the gospel. You have seen the power of the gospel, how it changes lives. When you think about the gospel, we were at a pregnancy center banquet earlier this year up in New Jersey. And I was presenting the gospel message, and we had just talked about life. And then it was a great event, and then afterwards, the director of the pregnancy center called me. She goes, "Did you hear what happened after we cleaned up?" I said, "No." She goes, "Our assistant director saw the bartender with his white shirt and bow tie in the back, sitting on a chair behind the bar, weeping." I said, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" She goes, "Our assistant director went up and asked him." She goes, "What is wrong?" He said, my girlfriend had an abortion. He goes, I had no idea about this stuff. And what that guy was talking about, the gospel, he says, I never heard that before either. I mean, we assume that people have heard the gospel and it's just their choice whether they're going to accept it or not. There are a lot of people who have never heard that healing message of the gospel. The gospel just in and of itself is powerful. When you think about the gospel, I mean, what books do you think of the Bible? I typically think of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You know, the story of Christ loving us so much and God wanting to have us with him for the rest of our lives, that he sent his son, he died, and then he conquered the grave. That's the essential story of the gospel. It's a message of love because we all fell short of the glory of God because of our sin nature. What's the fifth book of the New Testament? Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts. We need to put our faith into action. And it's not just Acts. It's the Acts of the Apostles. It's not the hangout of the apostles. It's not the chill out by the river of the apostles. It's the action. And that's what your church does so beautifully, is you put your faith into action. When it comes to the evils that are facing the world, we need to lead with the gospel. And we know that 20% of the people here today, abortion is something that has affected them. And we know that there are people here who are hurting even from something in their past. Your past and your bad memories are not being reminded of you by God. When our past is being reminded of us, that's a power of Satan. Satan wants to interrupt the relationship that we can have with God now and forever into the future. Don't let Satan have victory in that. When it comes to the battle for life and abortion, we will save the lives of God's preborn. We will bring healing and redemption to men and women, and we will advance the kingdom, and we will be victorious. I promise you that. So as we are finishing up here tonight, we're going to open up the altar here right in front of all of you. And it doesn't mean that you have personally been involved in abortion, but if you are hurting and you need healing, healing happens here in the church. And the real primary function of the church is to share the healing message of the gospel. If you haven't come to a personal relationship with Christ, stop the hurting and allow the healing to begin. And that begins here today. So we're going to open up the altar. We're also going to open up the VIP room because everybody here is a very important person. And you are blessed to be in a very inspiring, congregation here today. So we want you to open up your heart, come to Jesus, and hopefully we've given you some new tools. You have an amazing church and amazing leadership, and it's been an honor to present with you this morning. So God bless you and have a wonderful rest of your morning.
Beautiful pictures of babies, right? Powerful presentation. And hopefully, it spoke to us today. We've seen truth. We've heard truth. We've seen the word of God proclaimed. And we know that there are a lot of times there are many that they're hurting from past decisions. And just like Dr. Lile was talking about, God offers forgiveness. God offers mercy. God offers grace. And what Satan loves to do is he loves to take our secrets and he loves to torture us with them. He loves to just torment us with them. And if he can, he loves to keep us trapped in that. And we wrestle with guilt and shame. And we've even sang today that God takes away the shame. He takes away the guilt. And he washes us as white as snow. And so maybe you're here today and maybe you made a bad decision one time. See, God offers hope, restoration, healing, mending. And hopefully you have heard that and you received that. You're watching online, you can grab that as well, right? But it all starts with the gospel. It all starts with knowing who Jesus is. It's putting our faith in Christ for salvation. It's receiving the greatest gift of all, and that's the gift of life and salvation through faith in Jesus Christ. And so maybe you're here today and you need healing. It starts with Jesus. And you choose Jesus today. You just say, Jesus, I believe you are the Son of God. I believe that you went to the cross for me. I believe that you were resurrected by the power of God. And you have the ability and the power to heal me of my brokenness and to forgive me of my sins. And if that's your desire, just call out and say, Jesus, I believe that you are who you say you are. I believe you are the Son of God. And I need you in my life. I want to ask you just to bow your heads and close your eyes. And if that's your prayer, just in your heart of hearts, you just say, Jesus, I need you. Jesus, I'm asking you to forgive me. of the sins I've committed. I'm asking you to come into my life, to be my leader, to be my Lord. I want to quit living the way I've been living. I want to live for you. That is my decision. And if you just prayed that prayer, man, we would love to be able to walk with you. Be able to put a Bible in your hand to help you in your walk with Christ. Take you through the steps of baptism. Go in public with your decision. We're here for you. You're not alone. In just a minute, the worship team is going to play. And there may be somebody that needs to just come to the altar and pray. Maybe you know somebody that has gone through an abortion. You just need to come pray for them. Maybe somebody that you know is contemplating it. You come pray for them. Father, I thank you for meeting with us today. I thank you for Dr. Lile. I thank you for the message. God, I thank you for hope and truth. I thank you for mercy and grace. And God, I just pray that you would move in this moment as you always do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.